Welcome back to another episode of the 4Expedition Gear Guide. This episode is brought to you by Rock Pals, Northwest Overland, Black Label Garage, and by our 4Expedition Patreon supporters. Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 4Expedition Gear Guide. I'm Scott Leuthold. Today we're going to be testing out a bottle jack system by a company called SafeJacks, so let's get started. Alright, so let me give you a rundown of what we're going to do here. Inside this other bag I've got a Smitty-built compressor that runs off with a battery under the hood of my car. Inside this bag I have an ARB air down kit. We're going to use this air down kit to deflate the tire. Once we're done deflating the tire, we're going to try out the SafeJack bottle jack system. And then once we're done, determine whether or not we can use this bottle jack. We're going to air the tire back up using the Smitty-built compressor. Okay, so before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about a bottle jack system. The reason I'm interested in using a bottle jack is because, generally speaking, these are safer to use than the standard jack that comes with your vehicle. Now, if you're on an even surface in your driveway, the standard jack should be just fine. However, if you're out and about like I am and you're on uneven surfaces, dirt roads, soft dirt sometimes, it's better for you to use a bottle jack system because overall they're just generally more stable and safer to use. Okay, so first and foremost, I thought we'd do an unboxing. The first thing I want to point out is how nice this canvas bag is that the SafeJack bottle jack comes in. When you open this up, everything's inside bubble wrap, so it's nice and protected. The first thing I'll pull out is the bottle jack itself. This thing is very heavy, very durable, very solid. The base is cast iron, so when you set this thing down, it is just really solid to the ground, which is one of the real benefits of a SafeJack bottle jack system compared to your factory jack, which can tend to be a little less sturdy. So the next thing I want to pull out of here is the actual jack handle. This actually comes into two different pieces and makes it much smaller. And you basically take this device, you put it in here, and then you go up and down like this to raise and lower your vehicle. The next thing I want to show you here is this top piece. So basically, the way the bottle jack works in order to make it for higher clearance vehicles versus lower clearance vehicles is that it's got this bolt here on the top. And what you do is you loosen this way up, then you've got this plastic gasket that opens up, and you wrap that around the base here. That makes this much more stable. And then what you do is you use this provided extension pipe. You put that down over the top with that plastic gasket inside there. That makes it much taller for higher clearance. The other accessories that come with the SafeJack bottle jack are two different platforms. You've got this one right here, which is a big flat platform. You set that right on the top here. You set this underneath your vehicle and you start lifting this up. And when you lift it up, this sits underneath your vehicle and then basically starts pushing your vehicle up. The other version that they have here, which is really nice, looks like this. You can take this off of here and you put this on here, and this can sit underneath your axle. And when you lift up, it basically lifts your axle off the ground, which lifts your wheel off the ground. So for my use, though, the concern is I don't need this extension kit. What I need is for this to be as low as possible, but still high enough so that I do still need to use one of these. So let's say I use this one here. I need to lift this up just enough here so that when I set it down in here, it's nice and sturdy. And then basically I have to put this underneath my vehicle to lift up the vehicle. So we'll see if this actually is going to work. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is the fact that with this platform on here and with this as low as it possibly can go, this does fit underneath my Subaru Outback. The trouble is I only have about an inch clearance. When I let the air out of this tire, more than likely this is going to drop down way more than an inch. So I'm already pretty concerned that this bottle jack system won't work with a lifted Subaru Outback. All right, so first and foremost, we're going to use the ARB air down kit here. I've had this for a long time. I used to use this with my Jeep Rubicon. Works really, really well. Pretty easy to use. Basically, the way it works is you take this valve cover off, and you screw this on here to the valve stem right here by using this right here. And then once you got it screwed on, you take this piece here, which goes in and out, you push it in and you screw it on tight to the valve stem, and then you pull it out. And once you pull it out, what it does is it takes the inside out of this valve stem, and opens it up for a lot of high capacity in and out. And then what you do is you've got this piece here that leverages up and down to let air out and stop air from coming out. Then once you're done, you take this end piece here, you push it back in, and you screw the inside valve stem in, and then you basically unscrew this and you pull it off, and that airs your tire down. So it comes with this really nice regulator that's attached to it, and when you have this attached and you're letting air out of the tire, you can watch the PSI drop. I usually drop down to maybe 20 PSI for a little bit firmer, but also a ride that takes care of feeling the washboards and whatnot. First things first, we're going to screw this on here. All right, so now we got that screwed on. We've got this piece here, but it's not attached inside yet. So what we have to do is push it in, and we have to lock it on. And as I said, we're going to keep the bottle jack underneath here to make sure, see how low we can go. We're down to 30 PSI. Still got about 3/4 of an inch. Oh boy, we're down to about 1/8 of an inch. We're not even down to 25 PSI yet. I'm hoping that the sidewalls of this thing actually are pretty durable so that it doesn't drop all the way down. So we're at about 25 PSI. We are now sitting on the bottle jack. The air has pretty much stopped deflating, so I'm gonna stop it right there. So I'm going to assume that because this is a KO2 tire, that the sidewall is actually pretty strong, and maybe it will actually hold up enough, but the truth is, I would not be able to slide this bottle jack underneath here. What I'd probably have to do is maybe dig out underneath where you would put the bottle jack and set the bottle jack in place with it dug out underneath a little bit in order to be able to use it. So anyhow, I'm not going to say this is a bust. What I'm going to say is that I have to assume that with this tire flat, it's still going to have a sidewall holding it up some. And with the possibility of having to use my shovel to dig out underneath the vehicle just a little bit to be able to slide the bottle jack under there. So now we're going to basically use the compressor to fill it back up. So as you can see here, this is in here pretty tight. I can't move it. So I'm going to assume that the reason maybe this is sticking up a little bit is because I have the bottle jack under there and it's actually holding the car up a little bit. So I want to assume that maybe even if I took the bottle jack out of here, this tire would actually be sitting a little bit lower than it actually is. So while we're at it, I thought I would demonstrate just how this bottle jack actually works. So there's a release valve here, and when you loosen it, it releases all the built up pressure inside from pumping the jack handle. But instead, when you tighten it and crank the handle, it builds up pressure and forces up the lift, which also lifts your tire. You can see that it's lifting the tire up. Always make sure you got your emergency brake on and you've got some blocks behind the tires so that your car doesn't roll around. But as you can see, I'm lifting this up nicely here. And the bottle jack is getting a little tougher to use, but it's still very convenient, very easy to use. It's actually remaining very stable down in there. It hasn't sunk down into the dirt that much on the back, a little bit, but not too much. As you can see, this is actually working to lift this up. So works really well, pretty easy to use, pretty safe, and you can actually even get a bigger base for these bottle jacks if you so choose to make it even more stable. All right, so there you have it. I used the ARB air down kit to take the air out of the tire. I used the SafeJack bottle jack system to jack the car up. I used the Smitty built compressor connected to my battery under the hood with the car running to put air back in the tire. And I used, of course, the regulator to make sure I had the right PSI. All in all, I think this is a really great product. It's very solid and very durable and very sturdy. And of course, you can also get, as I mentioned earlier, a plastic base that goes underneath it to make it that much more sturdy. And if you have another kind of vehicle, it's not a Subaru Outback, let's say you have a lifted Tacoma or a lifted Jeep Rubicon or something like that, this would really be a great product for you. I should mention that SafeJack only included one pipe extender for me. You can actually get longer ones and several of them and stand them on top of one another for a much higher clearance vehicle, and it's still very sturdy. So I do recommend that for everyone. And I will definitely keep it in my car and use it again, especially when I do get a flat tire and test it out. If I do have to dig down in the dirt a little bit to be able to fit that bottle jack underneath there, I'd be willing to do that because it's that sturdy. And if I'm on the pavement, I'll just have to use the factory jack with the LP Aventura extender that comes with the lift kit. If you haven't subscribed to the 4Expedition channel, I encourage you to do that. And of course, be sure to hit that notification bell. And if you'd like to support 4Expedition, go to patreon.com/4Expedition. Your support goes a long way to creating quality content for this channel. Until the next time, take care.